respective parties. This is interesting because the very first scene has a lot of potential to be a big event for many different reasons. First, let's get the reunions out of the way, because my god, there will be a lot of them in the opening episode. This scene was already teased a few months ago when HBO released a very short clip of Jon Snow and Sansa Stark reuniting in Winterfell together. Now, I would consider this to be a big event because not only will this be a very powerful scene on an emotional level, but most of the reunions will lead to some of these characters doing some great things together in the future. We have already seen Jon Snow reunite with Sansa at Castle Black, but what makes the scene so special is the fact that Jon Snow will be reuniting with Arya Stark and Bran Stark, two characters he hasn't seen since the first season of the show. I'm already expecting the reunion between Jon and Arya to be very emotional, but when Jon reunites with Bran, this will completely change everything. Not only does Bran Stark have a major secret to tell Jon Snow, but these two characters working together will most likely lead to the downfall of Westeros' biggest threat, which is the Night King. As I've said in some of my previous videos before, Jon Snow and Bran Stark have the closest connection to the Night King. I think it's safe to say that even the Night King might look at Jon and Bran as potentially his biggest threat as well. We have seen glimpses of this in previous seasons. The Night King not only entered Bran Stark's vision, but he was also able to reach out and grab him by the arm. And of course, we cannot forget the two epic stare-downs between Jon Snow and the Night King. The first time it happened was at Hardhome, then we saw it happen again when Jon went beyond the wall to capture a White. This is obviously leading to a final confrontation between the members of House Stark, which, if you've seen some of my other videos, then you would know that I think the Night King is also a member from House Stark. We know that Jon Snow wants to stop the Night King, and Bran Stark wants to stop the Night King as well. So, when Jon Snow and Bran reunite, they will begin to devise their plan of stopping him for good. We know that Bran can go inside of the werewood net to hopefully find out more information about the Night King, like where he wants to go, what he ultimately wants, and hopefully how to stop him. Once Bran finds out all the information, he can tell Jon what to do. Then Jon can apply that knowledge on the battlefield. So, even though I'm dying to see the reunion between Arya Stark and Jon Snow, I believe one of the reunions that will have the biggest impact on the story is when Jon and Bran finally reunite next season. Also, like I said a minute ago, Bran still has a very big secret to reveal to Jon as well. This also has the potential to completely change everything, because we don't know how everyone will react to that news. There is a very good chance that this could piss a lot of people off for obvious reasons. One reason is because for years Daenerys has believed that she is the rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Ever since her brother died in the first season, Daenerys has said that she was next in line to take the Iron Throne, but now we know that is not true. Thanks to Samwell Tarly, Gilly, and Bran Stark, we know that Jon is the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. Since Rhaegar and Lyanna were married, that makes Jon Snow a legitimized Targaryen, and next in line for the Iron Throne. That revelation could make Daenerys very angry. Now there is always a chance that Jon could step aside for Daenerys, but until that happens, we don't know how that's going to play out. Not to mention, we also have to consider how all of Jon's bannermen react to that news. We already know there is no love for the Targaryens of the North. In fact, some of Jon's biggest supporters already voiced that opinion before he left to go greet with Daenerys. They told Jon that a Targaryen cannot be trusted. So, what are they going to do when they find out that Jon is the child of Rhaegar Targaryen? Will they abandon his cause and flee back to their homelands? Or could one of them even try to kill Jon? Now I know that would be a drastic decision, but it would not be the first time Jon was stabbed by one of his own men. These are just some of the reasons why Bran Stark has to be very careful with the way that he reveals that information. He might want to pull Jon aside and tell him that in private. That way Jon can break the news after, when and if they defeat the Night King. He doesn't want to risk losing all of his allies before the main event begins. Now I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but I don't think Jon's parentage gets revealed in the first episode. I don't know if Bran will tell Jon right away. And we also know how this story treats its fans. We never get everything all at once. I believe their first conversation could be about Bran Stark being the new three-eyed raven, and some of the things that he has seen that involve the Night King. This is obviously the most pressing issue at the moment, especially when you consider that Jon doesn't even know the Night King has knocked down the wall yet. In my opinion, that should be the very first thing that Bran says to Jon. That way they can start to prepare the castle and their soldiers for battle. They need to start making weapons ASAP, and the castle needs to be fitted for some defensive weapons as well. Let's move on though, because I have a lot of other things to cover. So I talked about Jon finally reuniting with Arya and Bran, but Jon will have another reunion that should have a very big impact on the story, which is when Jon reunites with Samwell Tarly. These two characters haven't seen each other since Season 5, and in fact, Sam just happened to have left right before Jon was murdered. Hopefully, we get to see them discuss that for at least a few moments because I would like to know what Sam thinks about Jon getting resurrected. But the reason why I think the reunion has a lot of potential is because of some of the things that Samwell Tarly currently possesses. As we all know, Samwell has his family's ancestral Valyrian steel sword, Heartsbane, but Sam also has all those old-ass books and documents he took from the Citadel. We don't know exactly what's inside of them yet, but they are obviously very significant, otherwise that will not be enough. Cersei should know this, and Qyburn should know this. With that being said, both of them know what they could use to help them defend the Iron Throne. That is wildfire and ballistas. Two weapons that Cersei has added to her arsenal before. I've had this feeling that we will get a scene of them both having those weapons mass-produced. Cersei does have good credit with the Iron Bank again, so there's no reason why she should not be able to get that done, but that's just my opinion. This could have a very big impact on the show because not only could they potentially kill another one of Dany's dragons, but Cersei could also blow up King's Landing. That would definitely make things a lot more exciting in King's Landing. Alright, but let's move on to Theon Greyjoy because almost all of us are expecting a big showdown with his uncle, Euron Greyjoy. Now, I highly doubt this would happen in the very first episode. As I've said, Euron is picking up the Golden Company, which according to Cersei, they have 20,000 mercenaries along with elephants trained in battle. So, when you combine that with Euron's men, along with his ships, there is no way in hell that Theon can challenge his uncle in the first episode when he's surrounded by that many men. Theon's crew is way too small to even attempt something like that, and if they did, it would be so unrealistic it could ruin the entire build-up to Theon completing that redemption arc. If anything, we may see Theon arrive at the Iron Islands, maybe in hopes of finding his sister locked up in a dungeon there, or he could try to salvage any men that may have stayed back when everyone left. Theon and Euron will have a fight to the death, but I don't think that happens until a later episode. Now let me briefly talk about Jaime's potential scene, then we can move on to the grand finale of the first episode. I'm not 100% sure that Jaime will arrive in Winterfell in the first episode. Now he absolutely could, but that all depends on where he stops first. Jaime might try to stop at Riverrun to gather up as many men as possible, and he could also stop at the Twins. If you paid attention to any of the casting news for Season 8, then you would know that they did cast 2 new actors to stand in as members of House Frey. Based on that information, we will see House Frey at least one more time. Jaime could also have made plans to meet with Bronn somewhere along the road, even maybe at the Crossroads Inn, who knows. But if Jaime makes a bunch of stops, then he probably won't arrive in Winterfell until the very end of the first episode, or the beginning of the second episode. If Jaime Lannister does arrive in the first episode, I think it would be near the very end. I think the scene could kinda play out like this. Do you remember when Arya arrived back in Winterfell last season? Well, during that scene, we got a wide shot of Arya overlooking Winterfell from the hilltop. Then after a few seconds, we got a close-up of Arya's face as she is full of emotion from seeing her home for the first time in so many years. We could get a similar scene with Jaime arriving as well. Near the very end of the episode, we could get the exact same shot of someone sitting on their horse overlooking Winterfell from a distance. Then as the camera changes sides for the close-up, we could see that it's Jaime Lannister, and he's not alone. Jaime is with Bronn and an entire army marching behind him. The close-up could just focus on Jaime's face for a few seconds as he contemplates what he's about to say when he reaches the gates. That scene could end right here before Jaime ever reaches the gate. That would be a very nice teaser for the second episode. But there is one final scene. Oh shit, you know what? I just thought of this. Okay, picture this. As Jaime is overlooking Winterfell, and we get the reveal that he has an army marching behind him, before the scene ends, they could do this. Like I said, as Jaime is overlooking Winterfell, contemplating what he's gonna say, at the same time we could see dozens or even hundreds of birds fly out from Winterfell's Godswood. Now that would obviously be Bran sending the birds out for some reason. But as Jaime's overlooking Winterfell, we could see Jaime look up at the big ass flock of birds, wondering where the hell they're going. As Jaime looks up, the camera could leave Jaime as a tease for the next episode, but then the camera could start to follow the birds. Just like when Bran sent the birds out beyond the wall. We saw them leave Winterfell, then we followed them all the way up north. But this time, as we are following the birds, we can notice that they aren't traveling that far north this time. In fact, they are traveling to one of the next closest castles, like the Last Hearth or the Carhold. As the birds are getting closer to the castle, we could hear a dragon scream so loud that it causes all of the birds to scatter. Then, we get our grand finale in the first episode. The Night King has arrived at his first target. Chaos erupts. Blue flames start scorching the castle and everyone inside. We don't even really have to see a bunch of people die. All we need to hear are the screams coming from inside of the castle as the blue flame engulfs the entire area. That's when Bran snaps back out of the birds, but this time Bran is covered in sweat, even though he's sitting out in the snow by the weirwood tree. After Bran snaps out of it, we can see him look over to Jon, with a terrified look on his face. Then, the episode cuts off and the credits roll. That would be dope, but let me know what you think. Keep in mind, these are just some of the big events that I think we could see in the first episode of the final season. If you would like me to continue and do the next episode, just leave a comment telling me to do the next episode. That way I know you want me to, and I will know that you listened until the very end. Anyways, I want to thank everyone for watching the video, and I also want to thank all of my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate all the support you've shown me over the past year. It truly means a lot to me. Have a great day, everyone, and a Happy New Year's. I'll see you soon. Bye.